Hey guys, tonight we're heading to a place even scarier than your high school reunion, rural America in the early 2000s. But we're not here for corn mazes or county fairs. Nope. Tonight, you're about to live the deadly daily life of an OxyContin-addicted mother, just trying to get through the day without losing her sanity or her last hydrocodone. Picture a world where the good old days are just as hazy as your cousin's memory after 3 pain pills and a can of Mountain Dew. And since this is our brand new channel, before you settle in, maybe take a second to hit like and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy what you find here. Leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, crank up a fan for that soothing box fan in a trailer hum, and get cozy under your leaf-stained blanket. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever wondered, what did a bad day look like when the kids were already screaming and the nearest Starbucks was 57 miles away? How do you keep up with school lunches, Walmart runs, and hiding your pill bottles from your nosy neighbor named Brenda, who definitely saw you at the pharmacy again? What happens when your back hurts, your heart hurts, and your doctor thinks you're drug-seeking, but you still have to get dinner on the table before the latest episode of CSI Miami? Do you think you could survive a single morning carpool run, or would you accidentally end up in Kentucky? Could you pass a urine test with 3 different last names on the prescription bottle? Would you figure out which pills are for pain and which ones are for, well, other pain, before the kids find your stash in the glove box? And now, congratulations. You've just woken up in a trailer on the outskirts of a town with more dollar stores than churches, and a pharmacy that knows your birth date by heart. The year is 2003. Your cell phone flips, your minivan is running on hope and fumes, and you haven't felt your real hip in 3 years. Good luck. You wake up to the sound of a toddler screaming and a country radio station that's 80% static. The house smells like stale coffee, dirty diapers, and something you desperately hope is just the neighbor's skunk. You reach for the pill bottle on the nightstand, knock over an empty soda can, and begin your day the only way you know how: blurry. It's not the gentle kind of blurry either. This is the kind where the ceiling fans spin in slow motion, and you have to blink 3 times before remembering if it's Tuesday or the apocalypse. Somewhere beneath your matted blanket, your phone buzzes with a text. Probably Brenda, asking if you saw her casserole dish. You haven't. You're not even sure you saw your own feet this morning. Outside the faded curtains, a weak winter sun struggles through the condensation that never quite dries. The floor is cold linoleum with suspicious stickiness near the fridge, last night's spilled juice, or possibly a science experiment. You put on your house shoes, which are just your regular shoes with a little more despair and a little less soul. The toddler has found a new hobby: pushing every button on the TV remote and wailing when PBS Kids won't magically turn into Nickelodeon. The older one is already up, pouring a questionable amount of sugar onto an off-brand cereal that only comes in family size, and this shouldn't be legal. You manage a smile that feels like it might crack off your face and mutter something that sounds like, "Morning, baby." You hope they take it as affection and not an existential plea for help. You shuffle to the bathroom, dodging laundry piles that have achieved sentience. The bathroom mirror reflects a version of you that looks like they lost a fight with a vacuum cleaner. There's a toothpaste blob in your hair and a mascara smudge on your chin. Bonus points for creative face painting. You search the medicine cabinet for anything with caffeine or at least a brand name you recognize. Your joints ache, your back protests, and your head throbs with a reminder that sleep is a luxury reserved for people who don't have to memorize the pharmacy's refill schedule. You pop a pill, wash it down with tepid tap water, and pray it kicks in before the dog escapes again. There's a certain rhythm to these mornings, a choreography built from necessity and survival. The baby's diaper is changed with one hand, while your other arm balances a mug of coffee so weak it could pass as water. You rifle through yesterday's mail, late bills, a coupon for oil changes, and a letter from the school reminding you about the No Child Left Behind policy, which feels personal today. The kitchen clock, which runs either 10 minutes fast or 20 minutes slow depending on the weather, tells you it's almost time to herd everyone toward the front door. You make a half-hearted attempt to brush someone's hair, maybe yours, maybe the dog's, find the car keys hiding under a pile of unread library books, and start the daily hunt for a pair of matching socks. No luck. You settle for both clean, both in the same colour family. The minivan waits outside, a monument to endurance and spilled apple juice. You strap the kids in, grab your purse, and take a quick inventory of what's left in the pill bottle. Just enough to get through the morning, if the universe is merciful. As you drive away from the double-wide, radio humming, kids in the back seat arguing over which flavour of Pop-Tart is superior, you take a deep breath. The air is crisp and filled with the scent of wood smoke and distant diesel. You're exhausted, sore, a little bit hopeful, and a whole lot determined. In the blurry chaos of a rural morning, you've already accomplished the impossible. You got everyone up, dressed, and out the door. And if that isn't worthy of a medal, or at least a quiet moment with your coffee, then history has really lost its sense of humour. It's 7:42 a.m., and you're barefoot in the gravel, chasing a 7-year-old with mismatched shoes and a Pop-Tart. The school bus is coming, the dog is barking, and somewhere in your robe pocket 3 loose pills are rattling like guilt. The morning sun hasn't made up its mind whether to rise or just quit entirely, so everything's tinted that special shade of grey that makes your double-wide look less like a home and more like the before shot in a commercial for antidepressants. The grass is heavy with dew, which you'd appreciate if you were into poetry, but right now it just means your feet are cold, wet, and gathering every possible sharp pebble the driveway has to offer. You try to recall the last time anyone in your household found both shoes before sunrise, but that memory's lost somewhere between Barney VHS tapes and expired pain prescriptions. The bus, like clockwork, appears over the hill, emitting that low, growling diesel cough that announces, ready or not, education is coming for you. You shout encouragements that sound like threats. Run faster. Don't drop your breakfast. Don't let the dog eat your backpack again. The neighbour, who's already put in a solid hour of Facebook stalking and coffee drinking, peers through her blinds. You wave, pretending this is all perfectly normal, but your face says, please don't call Child Protective Services, not this week. Your 7-year-old, fueled by nothing but sugar and the thrill of last-minute panic, launches across the yard with a speed and grace found only in children and small wild animals. You lurch after him, clutching a forgotten permission slip, a lunch that consists mainly of cheese sticks and regret, and your dignity, which you'll inevitably drop by the mailbox. Meanwhile, the dog, bless his codependent little heart, decides this is the perfect moment to begin his daily jailbreak. He's halfway down the street before you can shout, "He's friendly," to a jogger who now looks like she'll be reporting both you and your unwashed robe to the HOA, even though you don't technically have one. The bus squeals to a halt, and the doors open with a hiss, less like an invitation and more like the gates of judgment. You herd your child to the bus steps, smoothing his hair, wiping something sticky from his face, and whispering reminders about using your inside voice, and don't mention mommy's medicine. The driver, who's seen enough chaos to have a PhD in rural anthropology, just nods and gives you a sympathetic smile. You appreciate it. You need it. In this early morning circus, kindness is currency. The kid climbs aboard, waving goodbye with a half-eaten Pop-Tart, and just like that, the bus is gone, rumbling down the road, taking your tiny, sticky, shoeless tornado with it. For a split second, you stand in the silent aftermath, robe flapping in the breeze, clutching 3 rogue pills and the faint hope that you didn't forget anything truly important. You mentally replay the checklist. Backpack, yes. Shoes, close enough. Pants, on today. Lunch, sort of. Medication still rattling in your pocket. Oops. Back inside, the adrenaline subsides and exhaustion creeps in, like the world's slowest, heaviest blanket. You close the door, lock it against further chaos, and slide the pills back into their bottle, promising yourself after coffee. The dog appears at the window, tail wagging, proudly displaying someone's underwear like a trophy. You ignore him, just grateful he didn't bring back a skunk this time. There's a quiet pride in these wild mornings, a victory that only you notice. You survived the sprint, the judgment, the gravel, and another brush with disaster. The school bus drives away with your child and a piece of your sanity, and for a moment the world is still. The TV blares from the living room. The toddler is upending a box of cereal on the floor, and your coffee is already lukewarm. But you made it. You showed up. And sometimes, in the blurry marathon of motherhood, that's the only finish line that matters. You stand in the kitchen, staring into a fridge filled with half a stick of butter, some expired yogurt, and a mysterious Tupperware that may be alive. Breakfast today? OxyContin and a Diet Coke. Maybe a handful of cereal for the kids if you're feeling generous. The linoleum is cold beneath your feet, sticky in all the wrong places and faintly patterned with last week's grape juice, which no one has the energy to clean. The fridge hums like a distant chainsaw, its light flickering with the same unreliable optimism you bring to mornings. You scan the shelves, hoping the food has multiplied overnight. But unless condensation counts as a food group, you're out of luck. A toddler drags a plastic bowl across the floor, making a sound somewhere between a whine and a minor car accident. You tell yourself you'll cook a real breakfast. Pancakes, maybe, or eggs like a commercial, but you both know that's not happening. You crack open a Diet Coke, the hiss of carbonation more comforting than any rooster crow. The first sip is cold, metallic, and as close to an alarm clock as you'll get today. The Oxy bottle sits on the counter like a secret you keep in plain sight. You count the pills, always. You do the math, always. If you take 2 now, will there be enough for the rest of the day? If you just take 1, will you be able to move without wincing? Or will you be pacing like a caged animal by noon? You decide not to decide yet, so you shake one into your palm and slide it back with a practiced flick. The move as natural as breathing. You chase it with another gulp of Diet Coke and a whisper of guilt. You rummage through the pantry, pushing aside stale bread, an open bag of marshmallows and a single potato that has started to sprout what look like feelings. The cereal box, store brand, honey rings, the word honey doing a lot of heavy lifting makes an appearance. You shake out a handful into 2 chipped bowls, adding a splash of milk from a carton you sniff once, grimace and pour anyway. If the kids notice, they don't complain. They're just happy it's not oatmeal again. The toddler eats with the focus of a professional athlete, each sticky fistful of cereal a minor triumph. The older child sits, eyes glued to cartoons, mechanically spooning food into his mouth. You wonder, briefly, if he even tastes it. There's a dull comfort in the routine. Breakfast might be a mess, but it's your mess, and everyone is surviving. You scroll through your phone, half reading text messages and Facebook rants about lazy parents and opioid abusers. You feel seen and invisible at the same time, which is honestly a talent. You like a few memes about coffee and consider posting a picture of your breakfast, but decide against it. The world isn't ready for this level of honesty, or for the existential threat of your fridge's bottom shelf. The dog circles your ankles looking hopeful. You toss him the last crust of bread. He sniffs it, sighs, and eats it anyway, which is more enthusiasm than you can muster for anything labelled gluten-free. A clock ticks somewhere in the background, a countdown to the next errand, the next pill, the next crisis. The sun creeps higher, illuminating every crumb and fingerprint on the counter. You look at your children, alive and reasonably clean, and decide that's victory enough for one morning. Breakfast of champions? Maybe not. But for now, it's breakfast of survivors, patched together with caffeine, chemicals, and the stubborn hope that tomorrow will be better, or at least less weird. And with that, you face the day. 1 pill down, 3 more to go. 1 box of cereal lighter, 1 Diet Coke shorter, and a little bit more determined to keep everyone moving, no matter what the fridge throws at you next. It's prescription day. You slide on your best jeans, drive to the pharmacy, and rehearse your not addicted, just in pain speech for the tech behind the bulletproof glass. Your heart races when you see Brenda from church in the next line. The air in the parking lot smells like cigarette butts and hot pavement. Your minivan wheezes as you lock it. Once, twice, 3 times, just to be sure, before you check your purse for your insurance card, your ID, and that 1 utility bill with your most recent address, because nothing says trustworthy adult like proof you still exist in the system. You catch your reflection in the glass door, hair brushed, dark circles only moderately concealed, lips pursed in concentration. This is as good as it gets. You take a breath and walk inside, crossing the linoleum like it's the lobby of a courthouse. The waiting area is crowded, humming with the quiet panic of people who know this dance all too well. There's an elderly man counting coins, a mum with a double stroller and triple the patients, a guy who smells faintly of Red Bull and desperation. You keep your eyes on the floor tiles and shuffle into line, trying to remember which excuse you used last month, sciatica or the bad knee, or maybe it was 2 slipped discs and 1 unsympathetic ex-husband. You decide to go with lower back pain, since it sounds just medical enough to discourage questions and just vague enough to seem believable. Brenda, of course, is already there, clutching a bag of vitamins and chatting up the pharmacy tech like they're auditioning for a role in her memoir. She spots you and smiles, lips thin, eyebrows raised, scanning your hands for clues. Are they shaking, fidgeting, hiding something? You smile back, but it feels like your mouth is made of wet cardboard. She asks about your mother's casserole dish. Again. You say you're just here for allergy meds. Again. When it's your turn at the counter, you hand over your prescription with the sort of hope usually reserved for lottery tickets and last-ditch prayers. The tech scans your paperwork, tapping at a keyboard that seems to judge you with every click. She asks your date of birth, your address, and whether you have any allergies. You wonder if mild intolerance to shame counts, but keep it to yourself. She glances at your prescription, then at you, then at the bottle, as if she's searching for the secret meaning of life in the fine print. Her face is neutral, but her eyes flicker. Is this the same medication as last month? She asks. You nod. The doctor wants me to try it again, you say, channeling the voice of a woman who trusts her physician, definitely not someone who has Googled how to look less suspicious at the pharmacy. While you wait, you watch the parade of customers picking up antibiotics, allergy pills, the occasional pack of gum. Everyone looks so innocent, so unburdened by the weight of scrutiny. A sign above the register reads, "We reserve the right to refuse service," and for a moment you're certain it's been put there just for you. The tech calls your name and you approach, heart pounding. She slides your prescription under the glass, hands you a pamphlet about side effects, as if you haven't already lived them all, and mutters, "Have a nice day," with the enthusiasm of someone announcing a root canal. Brenda is still lingering, watching, always watching. You shove the bag into your purse, thank the tech, and hurry for the exit. Outside, the sun is too bright, your jeans too tight, your pulse a drumbeat in your ears. You slide into the driver's seat, lock the door, and exhale for the first time in 10 minutes. You check the pills, just to be sure, just to know they're real. For now, you've survived the gauntlet, your dignity mostly intact, your prescription filled for another 30 days. And as you drive away, you know you'll do this again. Same pharmacy, same song and dance, same anxious calculation of how many pills remain until the next gauntlet. In rural America, this is what hope looks like. A plastic bottle, a forced smile, and the relentless pursuit of something to dull the pain, just enough to make it to tomorrow. At the doctor's office, you're asked, "How bad is your pain, 1 to 10? You try to answer honestly, but after years of this game, it's become a performance worthy of an Olympic medal. 11, you say, trying not to cry, because this isn't your first rodeo, and certainly not your first pain scale. The nurse smiles, clipboard in hand, as if this is all just a harmless little survey and not the qualifying round for a prescription high jump. Would you say it's worse than last time? She asks, pen poised, her eyes full of that special blend of sympathy and suspicion reserved for anyone who lists hydrocodone as their favourite flavour of ice cream. You shift in the plastic chair, the kind that squeaks if you even think about moving, and give her your best "I'm just grateful for modern medicine" face. The room smells like hand sanitizer, artificial lemon, and faint dread. Posters warn about heart disease, seasonal allergies, and, ironically, opioid abuse. You can't escape the gaze of the cartoon pain chart. 10 little faces ranging from mildly uncomfortable to experiencing the 9th circle of hell. You consider pointing to sobbing uncontrollably, but that face doesn't exist. The real pain is in trying to quantify agony for someone who's never had to balance it against whether or not they'll be believed. You give your history, back injury, nerve pain, a pinch in your hip that never lets go. You toss in a knee twinge for good measure, like seasoning a stew, because if you don't diversify your symptoms, you might not get the full sympathy points. The nurse jots it all down, nodding, but you can tell she's already calculating real pain or real desperate. Now comes the part where you explain what you've tried. Over the counter, all of them. Stretching, religiously, yoga, sure if you count sitting on the floor and breathing through disappointment. Do you drink alcohol? She asks. You resist the urge to ask if chugging cough syrup in the 90s counts. No, ma'am, just coffee, lots of coffee. The doctor enters, white coat, tired smile, a stethoscope worn like a badge of both office and exhaustion. He asks the same questions the nurse did. only slower, as if repetition might make the pain less real. "Let's take a look," he says, poking, prodding and twisting you in ways that would get a chiropractor arrested. You wince, hiss, flinch for dramatic effect. No need to oversell, but no one medals in the pain Olympics without a little showmanship. "Pain, 1 to 10, he repeats, as if the number might have changed since the hallway. You almost say 3 because you want to seem tough, but you've learned 3 gets you ibuprofen and a pep talk. 10 gets you flagged. 8 is suspiciously round. So you settle on 7.5, but with lightning bolts down my leg. You hope your creativity counts for something." The doctor sighs, scribbles, leans back. "We don't like to rely on narcotics," he says, as if you're asking for a starter pack of heroin, not the only thing that lets you get out of bed in the morning. You nod, say you understand, try not to sound desperate. You agree to physical therapy, to more x-rays, to another round of wait and see. You promise to meditate, eat more leafy greens, avoid negative energy, anything for a refill that will last more than a week. You leave with a prescription, a warning, and a pamphlet about alternative therapies that includes prayer and aromatherapy. In the parking lot, you sit for a moment, bottle in hand, and breathe through the familiar mix of relief and humiliation. You've won gold in the pain scale Olympics, but no one's handing out medals, just another 30-day countdown to your next performance. And in rural America, that's a podium all its own. You wander the fluorescent aisles in search of frozen pizzas, clearance shoes, and that one generic painkiller the doctor said doesn't really work but might help. The fluorescent lights buzz. The receipt is longer than your patience. You've been here so often that the greeter waves you in with a look that says, "Back again." And you wave back, already mentally calculating how much shame you'll have to swallow if you run into your child's teacher, your ex, or, worst of all, Brenda from church. The air smells faintly of floor cleaner and desperation. A toddler shrieks somewhere near housewares, but you're unfazed. In Walmart, everyone is someone else's problem for 5 to 7 business days. First stop, the pharmacy section. You stare at rows of pills with names that sound like failed 90s rock bands: acetaminophen, ibuprox, pain be gone. You pick up the store brand, squint at the label, and try to remember if this is the kind that may cause drowsiness, constipation, existential regret, or all of the above. Next to you, an older lady whispers to her husband. She's always here for the pain pills. You pretend not to hear, clutch your generic box, and move on to the next Olympic event, snack negotiation. The kids are with you today, of course. One is demanding every brightly coloured sugar bomb in sight. The other is trying to convince you that the family-size bag of pizza rolls is technically a vegetable. You negotiate like a UN diplomat, setting boundaries you know you'll break by the time you reach checkout. The toddler drops a box of pasta on the floor, and you briefly consider just leaving it there as an offering to the retail gods. Your own cart is a fever dream of modern survival. Ramen noodles, 2-for-1 macaroni, peanut butter, store-brand soda, and frozen pizzas that claim to be rising crust, but usually just rise to disappointment. You toss in a bag of clearance shoes that are one size too big for the oldest, but, with socks, should fit just fine until school starts. You spot a display for seasonal scented candles, pumpkin spice latte and fresh linen, and briefly contemplate buying one to cover up the scent of defeat in your living room. Walmart time is different. You enter at noon, and thanks to the windowless time-warping interior, exit in what could be dusk, dawn, or an alternate dimension. Your phone vibrates with a reminder, doctor's appointment next week. Don't forget to bring your pill log and pain journal, which currently consists of angry doodles in the margins of old receipts. You pass the clothing section, eyeing $4 graphic tees that say things like, "Living my best life," which feels like an accusation. You need socks, but all that's left is a pack covered in smiling avocados. You shrug, remembering that at least avocados are technically a health food. You glance at the clearance rack and find a bra that might have fit you before the last 3 kids. Into the cart it goes, along with hope. By checkout, you've gathered a parade of items that make no sense together. Vitamins, chicken nuggets, school glue, a garden gnome wearing sunglasses, and inexplicably, a can of motor oil. The cashier doesn't blink. You try not to look at Brenda, 2 lanes over, loudly discussing her gluten sensitivity. The receipt prints for a full minute, so long it threatens to roll off the counter and lasso your self-esteem. Outside, the parking lot heat hits you like a wall. Groceries are tossed into the minivan with the precision of a seasoned linebacker. The kids argue over snacks. You ignore them, focusing on the one small white bag, your painkiller, maybe placebo, maybe not, but at least something. You survived another trip, another public performance, another round of smile. Everything's fine. As you pull away, receipt fluttering on the dashboard, you wonder if anyone else's safari ends with ice cream melting and a sense of having conquered absolutely nothing at all. But in rural America, sometimes just making it through Walmart is the greatest win of the week. A knock at the door means it's either a package or a social worker. Today, it's the latter. You hide the pill bottles, try to smile, and hope the baby isn't chewing on something illegal. Time for another round of "I'm fine, just tired." You take a deep breath and quickly scan the living room. The couch is covered in a laundry pile that's been promoted from temporary to permanent decor. A juice box has leaked onto the carpet. There's a Cheerio stuck to the wall. The dog, sensing tension, barks once before curling up on the pile of clean clothes, making them instantly not clean. You consider the possibility of escaping through the back window, but you're out of practice and wearing slippers with 0 traction. The baby, for her part, is quietly gumming something plastic. You perform a swift extraction. Just a Lego, thank goodness, not the prescription bottle cap from yesterday's pharmacy run. You stash the evidence in the highest cabinet, praying today isn't the day she figures out climbing. Another knock. This one is louder, official. You force a smile, adjust your shirt, inside out naturally, and open the door with the confidence of someone who's seen too many procedural dramas. The social worker stands there, clipboard, sensible shoes, a gentle face that says "I've heard it all," and eyes that could spot a crumb at a crime scene. She introduces herself, asks if it's a good time, like you're about to say, "Come back after my facial and Pilates class." You invite her in, heart pounding, every muscle ready to leap for a rogue pill bottle should one roll across the linoleum. You pray she won't notice the faint chemical tang of desperation and disinfectant, the kind only parents trying to mask real life with spring breeze air freshener know too well. She sits, crossing her legs and balancing the clipboard on her knee, and starts with the classics. "How have things been lately? Are you getting enough sleep?" You answer on autopilot. "We're fine, just tired. Kids keep me busy. You know how it is." She nods, scribbles, glances at the baby, who is now quietly dismantling the TV remote. The older child appears in his pajamas, inside out, in a show of family solidarity, and announces he's hungry. You hand him a banana. The social worker notes your parenting skills, offering a healthy snack. Win. But then the questions start getting closer to home. Any changes in your medication routine? Have you been able to refill your prescriptions without difficulty? You smile a little too hard, cheeks burning. Oh, sometimes the pharmacy runs out, but we manage. You steer the conversation back to safe ground. The kids' school, the weather, the neighbour's new car. Anything but the real answer, which is, I worry every day that I'm 2 missed pills away from falling apart. She asks about support systems. Do you have friends or family nearby? You resist the urge to blurt out Brenda's name just to see if she appears. Instead, you mention your mother, who lives a couple towns over and helps when she can, which is technically true if help means calling once a week to complain about her own prescription plan. The baby, now sticky from a banana that appeared out of nowhere, latches onto the social worker's pant leg, smearing her with fruit and pureed regret. The woman laughs it off. You mark her down as probably human, possibly kind. She hands you a list of local resources, parenting classes, support groups, a helpline for when things feel overwhelming. You take the paper, nod, and promise to look into it, knowing it'll join the pile of good intentions by the fridge. The visit wraps up. She thanks you, makes a note about home environment, lived in but loving, and leaves you in a wake of relief and residual dread. As the door shuts, you sag against it, the mask slipping, and give yourself a rare minute to just exist. The baby wails, the dog barks, the world keeps spinning, and you survived another pop quiz on the messiness of motherhood in rural America, still standing, still tired, and still, somehow, enough. Your van smells like spilled formula, cigarettes, and Cheez-Its. The check engine light has been on since Bush's first term. You drive around town listening to sad country songs, crying at red lights, and wondering when you last felt normal. Normal, in this case, feels like a rumour started by someone with a working transmission and all their teeth. The van rattles over every pothole, each one a percussion note in the symphony of your daily breakdown. The air conditioning only works on freezer or Florida swamp, never anything in between. You open a window and immediately regret it. Outside, the air is thick with dust, exhaust, and the haunting aroma of a Sonic burger wrapper that's been under the seat since Labor Day. You adjust the rearview mirror and catch a glimpse of yourself. Hair in a half-hearted ponytail, eyeliner from last Tuesday, eyes red and puffy. You look like someone who's lost a fight with a box of tissues and a box of wine simultaneously. The kids are strapped into car seats behind you, arguing about whose turn it is to pick the radio station, as if anything but crying in my Chevy ever plays in this zip code. You pull up to a stop sign and glance at the dashboard, which blinks back at you in cryptic hieroglyphics. The gaslight's been on so long it's become a lifestyle choice. The engine coughs as if it's considering unionizing. You think about calling your mechanic, but last time he suggested you pray on it. So you do, a quick prayer to the gods of late-stage capitalism, automotive endurance, and just a little bit of mercy. Your route is always the same. Past the shuttered Kmart, past 3 empty storefronts that once held promise, and now hold only faded Felice signs. The church marquee says, "He is risen," but your catalytic converter is not. You snort, then sniffle, which turns into real tears as George Strait croons something about heartache and pickup trucks. In rural America, country radio is less entertainment and more public therapy. You make the rounds: school, pharmacy, post office. At each stop you park in the farthest space, not out of principle, but because the brakes sometimes work better on a slight incline. The world inside the van is a universe unto itself. You've eaten more meals in this driver's seat than at your kitchen table. You've cried, laughed, screamed, and, once, napped through an entire Little League practice while the baby slept and your back screamed for mercy. The minivan's cup holders tell your life story, one filled with loose change and a sticky straw, another with a half-melted tube of lip balm, the third with the white prescription bottle that never quite leaves your side. You catch yourself humming along to a song about broken dreams and cheap whiskey. The kids are miraculously quiet, both of them staring out the window, lost in their own thoughts, or just hypnotized by the gentle sway of fast food wrappers in the air vents. At a red light, you let yourself really cry for a minute. Not the quiet, dignified tears of a movie mom, but the big, hiccuping sobs of someone who's tired, bone-tired, soul-tired, the kind of tired that can't be fixed with a nap or a latte. For a moment, you remember yourself before all this. Before the kids, the pills, the minivan with more mystery stains than seat belts. Was there ever a time you just drove for fun? Green light. You blink the tears away, crank up the radio, and tell yourself, you've got this. Because if you don't, who will? You pull into your driveway, heart a little lighter, minivan still alive, barely. Tomorrow, the check engine light will still glow, and the van will still smell like Cheez-Its and hope. But for now, you survived another lap of the only therapy you can afford, and that, in its own stubborn way, is enough. You become a master of disguise, hiding pill bottles in tampon boxes, coffee cans, and under the sink behind cleaning products no one actually uses. You worry more about your secret stash than the overdue bills stacked on the table. There's an art to it, one that's not covered in any parenting manual or 12-step pamphlet. Your kitchen becomes a maze of decoy containers. Is the OxyContin in the oatmeal? No, that's where you move the emergency Xanax. You try not to keep anything in the medicine cabinet too obvious. Besides, your oldest knows how to stand on the toilet and dig around. Kids these days can't tie their shoes, but they're practically Navy SEALs when it comes to finding snacks or secrets. You start seeing the house through the eyes of an outsider, a nosy neighbor, a visiting social worker. The goal isn't just safety, it's plausible deniability. Each bottle is tucked away with the precision of a seasoned stage magician. There's the good bottle hidden in a bag of cotton balls under the sink. The rainy day pills are taped to the back of the junk drawer, wedged between AA batteries, expired coupons, and 3 sets of mystery keys. Even the dog's treat jar gets a decoy Tylenol, just in case anyone is watching. You'd hide pills in the dog if he'd let you. There's an inventory system too. How many are left in each spot? When did you last rotate the hiding places? Is there a backup for the backup? It's like running a one-person pharmacy with all the anxiety of a CIA mole. Some mornings you open a cupboard and discover a bottle you forgot about, like finding a $20 bill in a winter coat, except it comes with more side effects and less spending power. But the stakes feel astronomical. The bills on the kitchen table form a sort of guilt shrine, overdue power, medical, maybe a final notice in red that's starting to blend with the ketchup stains. None of them scare you as much as the thought of losing control over your supply. There are few moments of true stillness in the day, but none so sharp as when you realize you're almost out, and the refill date is still a week away. The stress is a tightrope walk between will the kids find them, and will I run out before the next prescription? You get creative. The tampon box trick is an old favourite, nobody wants to rummage through there. Sometimes you split pills between old purses in the closet, an empty box of Girl Scout cookies, or a dusty flower vase above the fridge. You feel a brief surge of pride every time you outsmart yourself, only to panic an hour later when you can't remember if you hid a dose in the flower canister or the glove compartment. Sometimes you rehearse answers just in case. No, officer, those are my mother's pills. No, Brenda, I keep all my medicine locked up. Of course I do. What kind of mother do you think I am? The fear of discovery is exhausting, but it's nothing compared to the fear of pain, of withdrawal, of being judged by everyone from your doctor to the grocery store cashier. You become hyper-aware of every creak, every question, every little hand that disappears under a couch cushion. You wonder, not for the first time, how many other mothers in town are playing this same anxious game. You suspect it's more than anyone admits. Everyone's hiding something after all. At the end of the day, when the house is quiet, you do another mental inventory. Pills are accounted for, hiding spots updated, family none the wiser for now. Tomorrow you'll shuffle the bottles again, just to be safe. Survival, it turns out, is less about fighting dragons and more about hiding treasure in plain sight, hoping nobody ever gets curious enough to dig too deep. At the hair salon, the topic is always pain meds. Who gets them? Who abuses them? Who got caught forging a script? You nod along, but inside you're terrified your name is next. You sit in the cracked vinyl chair, an old copy of People magazine in your lap, pretending to read about celebrities whose lives feel less dramatic than your own. The salon is buzzing with the scent of hairspray, hot irons and rumours. Above the hum of hairdryers, voices swirl. Did you hear about Donna? Her cousin got raided by the DEA, or they say Missy's doctor won't prescribe her anything stronger than ibuprofen after she got flagged in the system. You try to keep your smile steady as the stylist combs through your hair, tugging with a little more force than necessary. The small talk here is anything but small. It's currency, survival, a subtle way to measure who's still in favour and who's one call away from being the main event at Sunday brunch. You know this game too well. You're careful never to admit how many times a month you see your doctor or which pharmacy runs out of your prescription. Too many details and you'll get pegged as a regular. Too few and people think you're hiding something, which you are, but that's beside the point. Everyone in the room seems to know a story. There's always a neighbour's nephew, a distant cousin, someone who just couldn't kick it. The tales get swapped like recipes, and the only thing rising faster than the price of gas is the suspicion in the air. You stare at yourself in the mirror, rehearsing your lines. Oh, I just take Advil for my back. Or my doctor says I'm lucky I don't need anything strong. The goal is to sound healthy, honest, and most of all, boring. Nobody gossips about boring. Your stylist leans in, lowering her voice as she trims your bangs. Between you and me, they say the pharmacy's cracking down. You can't even get cough syrup without showing ED. You nod, laugh, make a joke about the good old days when you could walk in and buy Sudafed without a background check. The women around you chuckle, but the conversation keeps circling, drawn by invisible gravity, right back to who got cut off, who's looking rough, who's probably on something. You check your phone under the cape, pretending to scroll through texts while actually double-checking that you didn't accidentally pocket dial Brenda. You scan the room for faces. Has anyone been watching you? Did you look nervous? Is your purse zipped all the way up? Your heart beats a little faster as the stylist waves a bottle of leave-in conditioner, asking if you want to try it. Sure, you say, anything to change the subject. The old rotary phone by the register rings, startling everyone. For a split second, you're convinced it's for you, or worse, about you. The stylist answers, laughs, announces that someone's husband is late for his trim. The tension dissolves for a moment, replaced by a flurry of jokes about men and their mullets. You breathe again, shoulders relaxing. But the next round of gossip picks up before the blow-dryer has cooled. You pay, tip generously, and promise to book again soon. As you leave, you catch your reflection in the glass, freshly styled, smiling, perfectly ordinary. Outside, the wind whips up dust, the church bells chime noon, and a dog barks in the distance. You clutch your purse a little tighter, walk a little faster, and silently pray your name never makes it into the next small-town roulette. Because here, rumours travel faster than cars, and it's always someone's turn to be the talk of the town. You just hope for one more week it isn't yours. You trade babysitting favours for rides to the doctor, gas money, and sometimes just a half hour alone in the bathroom. Every mother you know is exhausted, broke, and operating at the mercy of whatever prescription she can get. In this corner of the world, community doesn't look like potlucks or PTA meetings. It looks like a web of desperate negotiations and I owe us written in diaper rash cream and off-brand goldfish crackers. Everyone is always just getting by. Today, you drop your kids at Donna's. Her double wide is 3 miles closer to the pharmacy, and she owes you for watching her twins last week while she got her tooth pulled. You hand over your sticky herd, thank her for the ride, and slide into the passenger seat, trying not to notice the carpet of crushed cereal under your feet. Donna drives a minivan that makes yours look like it rolled off a showroom floor. The AC only works if you hit the dashboard just right, and the back window is stuck half open, which is great for ventilation and terrible for rain. Her phone is full of reminders, refill scripts, call the school, check on Brenda after her incident. She's got a baggie of dollar bills for gas and a secret stash of Tic Tacs to cover up the taste of whatever she's taken to get through the morning. You both laugh about the absurdity of it all. Motherhood, right, she says, as if the whole world operates this way, holding it together with empty promises and expired coupons. You swap stories about creative discipline, ER visits, and the latest pharmacy drama. It's a relief to talk to someone who gets it, who doesn't ask questions when you say you need to make 2 stops. Walgreens for your pills, Dollar General for cheap snacks, and maybe the library parking lot for 5 blessed minutes of Wi-Fi and silence. Back at her place, the kids run feral, high on juice boxes and the thrill of new toys to break. You settle on the porch steps, sipping lukewarm coffee from a mug that says "Number 1 Mom" in fading gold letters. Donna hands you her phone and asks if you'll text her ex about picking up the kids this weekend. You agree because you know she'll return the favour when it's your turn to avoid awkward conversations or arrange surprise doctor's appointments you didn't technically clear with work. Inside, you hear the sound of cartoons blaring and someone crying. You let it go. Donna's got this. The unspoken rule of the babysitter exchange is mutual selective hearing. If no one is bleeding, it's not your problem for the next hour. You drift into the bathroom, lock the door, and sit on the edge of the tub. The silence is sacred, punctuated only by distant shouts and the dull thump of children discovering gravity. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, and allow yourself a moment to pretend you're anywhere else. A spa, a hotel room, a car without car seats. When your shift's over, you gather your herd, thank Donna, and promise to get her back next week. No money changes hands, just another layer of obligation, another date circled on a calendar stained with grocery lists and prescription reminders. You check your phone, 2 missed calls from the school, a text from your mother, and a reminder to pick up your refill before 5. You wrangle the kids into your own minivan, feeling the weight of exhaustion and the strange comfort of knowing you're not alone. Every mother you know is exhausted, broke, and bargaining for survival, but somehow the babysitter exchange keeps everyone's head just above water. Tomorrow you'll trade again, maybe a ride for a meal, maybe an hour of peace for a day of chaos. It isn't easy, and it sure isn't pretty, but it's the only system that's ever actually worked. In the wild barter economy of rural motherhood, sometimes it's the only thing standing between you and the edge. You attend church for the potluck. The casserole tastes like regret. The pastor preaches about temptation, and Brenda gives you that look. You slip outside, light a cigarette, and hope God is in a forgiving mood. Sunday in rural America means 3 things: itchy dress pants, judgment in casserole form, and a parking lot full of pickup trucks, each one a little rustier than last week. The air smells like grass clippings and aqua net. Your kids fidget in their good clothes, already plotting how to disappear after the first plate of Jell-O salad. You find a folding chair near the edge of the multi-purpose room, strategically positioned to avoid both the draft from the ice machine and Brenda's laser-guided side-eye. The buffet table is a landmine field of local gossip. The potato salad is from that woman whose son got arrested at homecoming. The green bean casserole is famous, which just means it's famous for being reheated at every single church event since 2002. You grab a slice of sheet cake that tastes like existential dread and nurse a cup of generic punch that might be 2 parts fruit juice, 1 part melted popsicle. You nod and as the ladies at your table discuss everything from the price of eggs to the new pharmacist, who is apparently not from around here and therefore inherently suspicious. The pastor takes the microphone for a quick word about resisting temptation and the path of righteousness. You do your best to look attentive, but the phrase pill-popping epidemic gets lobbed into the middle of his sermon like a grenade wrapped in a prayer. You try not to flinch. Brenda, of course, is watching, her fork paused mid-air, eyes narrow, already composing next week's prayer chain email. You pick at your casserole, wishing you could disappear, or at least trade places with the toddler who's hiding under the dessert table eating sprinkles. When the meal ends, the pastor blesses everyone, even those in the midst of struggle, and you hear a few pointed amens from the choir section. You take the opportunity to slip out the side door, heart thumping in time with the church bell. Outside, the sky is blue, the grass is too green, and your hands shake as you fumble for your lighter. The smoke calms your nerves, at least until you hear the door creak and see Brenda heading your way, her sensible shoes crunching on the gravel. You brace yourself for small talk, but Brenda just wants to know if you're coming to the bake sale next week. You say yes, of course, because the last thing you need is to be the subject of even more speculation. She asks about your mother, your kids, your latest doctor's appointment. Each answer is a quick shuffle of the truth, a careful dance to sound healthy but not suspiciously healthy, tired but not incapable, busy but not so busy you can't volunteer for nursery duty next month. She finally leaves, and you breathe again, stubbing out your cigarette on the bottom of your shoe. A flock of birds circles above the steeple, and you wonder how many other mothers are out here hiding from the glare of fellowship and casseroles, just trying to make it through one more Sunday without becoming the headline of Monday morning's gossip chain. Inside, someone starts cleaning up. Kids run wild in the parking lot. You finish your smoke and pocket the lighter, smoothing your skirt and practicing your everything's fine smile in the reflection of a minivan window, back into the fray. After all, in rural America, church isn't just about salvation. It's about survival, casseroles, and never letting anyone see you sweat. You dump your bottle onto the Formica counter, counting out what's left and calculating if you'll make it to the next refill. Math was never your strong suit, but desperation turns you into a savant. The pills scatter across the counter like little chalk-white secrets. There's a rhythm to this ritual. Line them up, sort by size, double-check for strays under the junk mail and the latest overdue bill. You whisper the numbers under your breath. 5, 10, 11. Wait, did you count that one twice? You start over, slower, this time organizing them in a neat little grid, like a suburban version of a blackjack table. Only the stakes are much, much higher. Every bottle has its own map. How many you can take each day, how many you're supposed to take, how many you actually need to take to make it through the afternoon when the world feels sharp and your skin fits wrong. The prescription says take as directed, but the reality is take as needed and pray there's enough left for Friday. There's always 1 week every month that turns into a game of pharmaceutical roulette, where every pill is a bet you hope pays out in just enough relief. You check the calendar taped to the fridge, the one with hearts drawn around refill dates and frowny faces on the days you've run short. It's like a twisted advent calendar. Each morning you open the door to see if you're getting relief, or just a reminder that you're running out of time. You count again, just in case you missed one. You even shake the bottle and listen for the rattle, as if it might give you an answer you like better. The house is quiet for once. Kids at school, dogs snoozing under the table, only the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the cheap wall clock to keep you company. Time stretches and contracts around your calculations. You try to budget. 1 for the morning, half of 1 for the late afternoon, maybe just coffee and willpower at bedtime. You promise yourself you'll stretch it out. You always do. And then you remember last Tuesday, when pain won and you cracked early, convincing yourself tomorrow would somehow be easier. Your phone buzzes. A reminder. Refill available in 6 days. You do the math. 6 days. 8 pills. You feel a flicker of hope, quickly snuffed out by anxiety. That's just enough if nothing goes wrong. You imagine a parade of minor disasters, a surprise visit from Brenda, a migraine, an unexpected field trip. The kind of day when everything goes wrong and you need 2, 3, maybe 4 just to keep the walls from closing in. You consider calling the doctor. Maybe there's a way to refill early. Another story about pain. Another round of the how bad is it? Olympics. But you know the pharmacy keeps track. You know what early refills look like on a chart. You imagine the judgment in their eyes, the polite but pointed questions, the suggestion that maybe you could try Advil instead. You gather the pills back into the bottle, tapping each one in like it's a coin going into a sacred piggy bank. You screw the cap tight and hide it in your latest secret spot, a tampon box, the freezer, a zippered pocket in last winter's purse. You clean up the crumbs, wipe the counter, practice your normal face for when the kids get home. For now, you have enough. Barely. You exhale, the kind of breath that's half relief, half dread. The countdown continues quietly, beneath the routine of peanut butter sandwiches, math homework and bedtime stories. In rural America, survival is a numbers game, and tonight you're just grateful you made the math work at least for 1 more day. You need a new note for work, but Dr. Simmons is getting suspicious. You rehearse your limp, remember which hip is bad, and hope you don't mix up your stories. It's not lying, it's survival. There's a rhythm to this charade, as rehearsed as a middle school play, only with higher stakes and less applause. You wake early, practicing your story in the mirror while brushing your teeth. Is it my left hip this month? Or did I switch to the right after that last urgent care visit? You pace the kitchen, giving your limp a trial run, making sure it looks natural but not theatrical. Your youngest watches with the wide eyes of a future Oscar winner. You shrug. Mama's got a sore leg. She shrugs back. Everyone in this house knows you're always hurting somewhere. Your boss wants the note by Friday. Signed, dated, official. HR policy, she says. Just paperwork. You want to laugh? Paperwork is the one thing you have in abundance. Bills, prescriptions, insurance claims, permission slips, all stacked on the counter like a game of financial Jenga. The only thing more precarious than your health is your credibility. At the clinic, you sit in a chair so old it groans in protest, surrounded by posters of smiling people who apparently live pain-free lives. You scan the waiting room. A teenager scrolling TikTok with a sprained wrist. An older man with a brace on every joint. A mum trying to fill out paperwork while wrestling a toddler out of a trash can. You nod in solidarity. Everyone's faking something, even if it's just optimism. Dr. Simmons calls your name. He's younger than your minivan, but twice as judgmental. His smile is tight. His questions are sharper than the tongue depressor he'll soon prod you with. How are we today? He asks, as if we're in this together. You give your best grimace, shift in your seat, and recall every medical show you've ever watched. He reviews your chart, tapping the screen like he's searching for the answer to a riddle. You've needed quite a few notes this year, he says, careful not to sound outright accusatory. You laugh, the kind that sounds a little too close to crying. The job's hard on my body, you offer. I'm just trying to get by. He asks you to walk for him. You do. The limp is subtle, believable, just practiced enough to pass for real. He presses on your hip, asks if it hurts. Yes, you breathe, a little too fast, but he only nods. The questions come rapid fire. Have you tried stretching? Physical therapy? What about over-the-counter options? You answer yes, 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 crossing your fingers under the exam table. He sighs, scribbles notes, reminds you that opioid dependency is a real risk. You nod, pretending it's the first time you've heard this speech, pretending your mouth isn't dry from anxiety, pretending your hands aren't shaking from fear you'll say the wrong thing. Finally, he prints the note. 1 more week of light duty, it reads, with a doctor's signature that looks like a prescription for chicken soup. You take it with a practiced smile, thank him, and promise you'll look into yoga. Outside, the sun is too bright, the wind too sharp. Your limp disappears as soon as you round the corner. At work, you hand in the note, keeping your story straight, your smile pleasant, your bad hip subtly favouring the side you chose that morning. HR nods, stamps your paperwork, adds it to the stack. You exhale, relief and guilt washing over you in equal measure. In this rural world, the dance goes on. Another note, another week, another performance in the never-ending play called Making It Work. It's not lying, it's choreography. And some days, you swear it's the only thing keeping you upright. You got a letter from the county. It's either a bill, a court date, or a custody threat. You try not to panic as you dial your lawyer, who knows you by your ex's last name and the smell of your stress sweat. The envelope sits on the counter, as heavy and ominous as an uncut gemstone. It's official, windowed, stamped, and stamped again with the kind of government ink that means nobody's sending you good news. You flip it over in your hands like a tarot card, hoping for a friendly water bill but bracing for a summons. Your coffee goes cold as you stare at your name, or rather, your ex's name, spelled just wrong enough to remind you of every clerical error since the divorce. You dial your lawyer. She answers on the third ring with a sigh that says she's already looked you up on caller ID. It's me, you say, because you both know you're the only client who calls before 9 a.m. over mail. I got another letter, you add, and you hear the click-clack of her keyboard as she brings up your file, a digital mountain of custody filings, parenting plans and invoices that somehow never add up in your favour. As you talk, your hands shake. You tell yourself it's just nerves, but you know it's fear. The tight old kind that lives at the base of your neck and spreads down your back. The kind that never really leaves, no matter how many nights you spend calculating child support, visitation schedules and legal fees. Your lawyer asks if you've opened the letter yet. Not yet, you admit. I wanted to be calm first. You laugh, but it comes out as a squeak. Calm is for people whose kids aren't one court mistake away from living in a different zip code. You finally rip the envelope open, flinching at the sound, like maybe the paper could actually bite you. It's a hearing notice, date, time, stern instructions to appear in person, as if you dare to trust the mail with your fate. You read it aloud, your voice shaking less with every word. Your lawyer listens, tells you what to bring. Documentation, receipts, proof that you're keeping up, proof that you're not what they say you are. Proof, always proof. You spend the day gathering papers, doctor's notes, school newsletters, text messages about missed pickups and last-minute schedule changes. You build a case for your own existence, stapling your life together with hope and the occasional curse word. The kids bounce in and out of the living room, blissfully unaware of the gravity pulling on your chest. You plaster on a smile, tell them not to worry, then send them outside to fight over sidewalk chalk. Night comes. You stare at the ceiling, rehearsing what you'll say if the judge asks you about your prescriptions, your job, your ex. You practice sounding strong and reasonable, not like someone who can recite the pharmacy's hours by heart. You imagine the courtroom, fluorescent lights, folding chairs, a judge who's seen 1,000 families like yours and probably heard every story, twice. You call your mum, just for comfort, but she ends up telling you about her friend's nephew who lost custody after a bad Facebook post. Thanks, Mum. You hang up, clutching the court letter, promising yourself you'll show up early, dressed nice, hair brushed, every detail under control. But deep down, you know that in family court nothing is ever really under control. All you can do is show up, paperwork in hand, and hope the universe is having a merciful day. In rural America, family isn't just blood, it's a battleground, a bureaucracy, and sometimes a mailbox that ruins your whole week before breakfast. You browse Craigslist for odd jobs, babysitting, cleaning, anything to make a few bucks. Your back aches, your head spins, and you wonder if the pain is ever really physical anymore. It's a new morning, which in your world means another pot of burnt coffee, another round of stretching your bank account further than your hamstrings. You sit at the sticky kitchen table, laptop propped on a pile of unpaid bills, scrolling past posts that all start to sound the same. Need help ASAP. Cash paid today. You'd love to be choosy, but when your checking account is performing a magic trick called now you see it, now you don't, you start considering jobs you wouldn't have blinked at back when Craigslist was mostly missed connections and free kittens. The ads are a wild ride. Some seem reasonable, Babysit my kids for $10 an hour and all the juice boxes you can handle, until you realise the gig is 3 towns away and your minivan's gas light is flashing again. Others border on surreal, seeking someone to assemble IKEA furniture, must bring own Allen wrench and emotional resilience. You wonder if there's a market for professional pill organizer. You'd be overqualified. Every click is a negotiation. You calculate mileage, how many pills you'll need to survive bending over someone else's sticky floors, and whether the extra cash will cover your next copay. You answer a couple of listings, one for cleaning a rental after rowdy tenants. Translation, bring gloves and lower your standards, and another for helping an elderly woman organize her collection of porcelain clowns. You hate clowns, but you like groceries, so you send a polite reply. You think back to when you had a real job, something with direct deposit and lunch breaks. Now every day is hustle, every hour a new calculation. How much can your body handle? How much can your pride? You remind yourself it's just temporary, just until things stabilize, just until the next refill, the next check, the next whatever comes next. You land a gig watching 3 kids for a mum whose desperation shines through her text messages. She pays cash, leaves a frozen pizza, and doesn't ask questions when you wince getting up from the couch. Her kids watch cartoons. You watch the clock. When she returns, she hands you a crumpled $20 and half a bottle of ibuprofen. It's not the prescription you need, but at least it'll take the edge off until you can line up another job. On days you don't get any bites, you check the free stuff section, hoping for anything remotely useful. Last week you scored a barely used toaster and a box of size 4 tea clothes for your youngest. Sure, the toaster only works on one side, but you can always flip the bread. You've gotten pretty good at flipping things, pancakes, second-hand shoes. Bad luck. Your kids have learned the Craigslist economy too. They know not to ask for new things, just new to us. A bag of yard sale toys becomes a Christmas miracle. An old desk picked up for free is scrubbed down, painted, and called a study nook. The house fills with these little victories, cluttered but alive, a testament to making do. At night, you rub your back, swallow another painkiller, and scroll through more listings by phone light, just in case something easy and legal pops up. You wonder if other mothers are out there doing the same thing, making ends meet one odd job at a time, counting pennies and hours and pills. The pain, it's always there, lurking beneath the surface, equal parts body and soul. But you keep going. Because in the Craigslist economy, resilience is your only currency. And tomorrow's another day to hustle, to hope, to make a little magic out of nothing at all. Visiting your mother means scoping out her medicine cabinet for just 1 or 2 to get you through the week. She's suspicious, but you're desperate and family is complicated. It starts the same way every time. You ring the doorbell, holding a tray of store-brand cookies like a peace offering, and she answers in her Sunday best, even if it's Tuesday, and tells you look tired before you even say hello. You force a smile and step inside, eyes already darting toward the hallway where the bathroom door creaks just slightly when opened too fast. You've got a system. Pleasantries, small talk, coffee, fake interest in her latest church gossip. Then the bathroom run. 10 minutes, tops. Longer, and she starts asking questions. The medicine cabinet is modest but promising. She's got arthritis, migraines, and a little something for her nerves that her doctor prescribed after the cat died. There's always a bottle or 2 that's been sitting untouched, childproof cap still pristine. You're not here to take the whole stash, just 1 or 2, like always. Just enough to get through the week, just enough to keep the headaches at bay, the back spasms manageable, the dark thoughts out of reach. But she's gotten wise over the years. The last time you came over, the Tylenol PMs had been replaced with Flintstones vitamins, and the real pills were stashed somewhere deeper. Maybe the linen closet. Maybe her sewing basket. Maybe she's learned from you the way you once learned from her, how to survive when the world stops giving out second chances and starts charging copays instead. You sip your coffee at the kitchen table, nodding as she recounts the latest drama with her neighbour's grandson, who's either going to college or jail depending on the week. You laugh where appropriate, ask about her church's bake sale, and comment on how nice her garden looks, even though it's half dead and full of weeds. She beams at the compliments, and you think, maybe today's the day she doesn't notice. Maybe she'll trust you enough to leave you alone in the bathroom for a full 5 minutes without standing outside the door, humming hymns like a human lie detector. You make your move during the commercial break. The hallway creaks. The light in the bathroom flickers like it's judging you. You open the mirror cabinet slowly, reverently, like a shrine. There it is, a half-full bottle of hydrocodone from her root canal last fall. Still sealed, untouched. You take 2, no more. You're not stealing, you tell yourself. You're surviving. You'll be better next week, stronger, more in control. This is just a stopgap. Back in the kitchen, she eyes you over her cup of tea. Feeling better? She asks. It's loaded, like every conversation you've had since the day you dropped out of nursing school and moved back home with 2 kids and a bottle of borrowed Percocet. You smile. Just needed a minute, you say. You know how it is. She doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. You leave with a bag of leftovers, a tight hug, and a heart full of guilt so loud it drowns out your car's sputtering engine. In the rearview mirror, she's still standing at the door, arms crossed, watching you go. Not angry, not even disappointed, just tired. Like she knows the difference between a visit and a scavenger hunt. Family is complicated. Love doesn't always come in the shape of trust. Sometimes it's just a cabinet full of expired prescriptions, a cup of lukewarm coffee, and the quiet hope that next time, maybe, you'll stop coming for the pills and stay for her. But not today. Today, survival comes in the shape of 2 white tablets, a shaky promise, and a mother who still leaves the door unlocked. You're physically present, emotionally underwater. The kids want to play, you want to nap, and the TV does most of the parenting. You promise yourself tomorrow will be better after 1 more pill. The living room glows blue from the television, a steady hum of cartoons that all sound vaguely the same. Bright colours, high voices, lessons about sharing that feel theoretical at best. You sit on the couch, sinking into cushions that have lost their shape, your body heavy like it's been filled with wet sand. Your phone rests on your chest, rising and falling with your breath, unread messages piling up like dust. The kids orbit you. One wants help building something out of mismatched blocks. The other is asking for a snack even though you handed out snacks 10 minutes ago. You answer on autopilot. In a minute. Ask your brother. Not right now. Your voice is calm, flat, practiced. You're here, technically. You can see them, hear them. You're just delayed. The guilt creeps in quietly, like mold behind the walls. You remember a time when you got on the floor with them, when you laughed more easily, when watching TV felt like a treat instead of a survival tactic. Now the TV is a co-parent, reliable, predictable, always available. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't need refills. It never asks for more than electricity and silence. Your body aches in places you can't quite explain. Not sharp pain, worse than that. A dull, constant heaviness that makes lifting an arm feel like a decision instead of a reflex. You tell yourself you'll rest for 5 minutes. Just 5. Enough to reset, enough to feel human again. You reach for the pill bottle, already knowing where it is without looking. You tell yourself this one doesn't count. This is maintenance. This is harm reduction. This is you making sure you can stay upright long enough to heat up chicken nuggets and pretend you're listening to a story about a kid at school who may or may not be imaginary. You swallow the pill dry, wince, and wait for the familiar easing at the edges. Time stretches. The TV cycles through episodes. Someone spills juice. Someone cries. You respond just fast enough to keep things from tipping into chaos. You're a lifeguard half asleep on the stand, still watching the water, just slower to blow the whistle. At some point, one of the kids crawls into your lap. Their head is warm, heavy, real. You wrap an arm around them, feeling both comforted and trapped. You love them so much it hurts. That's the cruel part. The love never shuts off, even when everything else feels muted. You think about tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll wake up early. Tomorrow you'll play games, cook a real meal, read a book instead of scrolling. Tomorrow you'll be the version of yourself you remember. Tomorrow is always fully stocked with good intentions. Tomorrow never asks how you're getting through today. The pill kicks in gently. Not a rush, just a smoothing. The noise in your head dims. The guilt softens around the edges. You feel almost okay. Not good, but functional. That's the goal. Functional parenting. Everyone fed. Everyone alive. No one calling the school or the county or your mother. The kids eventually wander off, attention pulled back to the glowing screen. You close your eyes for a second, not sleeping, just resting them. Just listening to the muffled chaos of another afternoon survived. This is parenting on pause. Not abandoned, not forgotten, just temporarily suspended while you catch your breath. You promise yourself it's only for now. Just this phase, just this season. Tomorrow will be different. After one more pill. It's 2 a.m. and you're in the ER, explaining your pain again. The nurse looks skeptical, the doctor less so. You get a shot, a script, and a pamphlet about addiction that you throw away on the way out. The waiting room smells like antiseptic and old coffee, the kind that's been reheated so many times it's given up. The TV mounted in the corner plays a muted infomercial about life insurance, which feels personal. You're slouched in a plastic chair, clutching your purse like it contains state secrets instead of loose change, expired receipts, and a bottle you're pretending not to need. Every seat is taken. A man groans softly into his phone. A teenager cradles a bandaged hand and looks embarrassed to be alive. A woman coughs in a way that sounds permanent. You keep shifting, trying to find a position that doesn't send lightning through your spine. There isn't one. You've already tried them all. You consider lying down on the floor, then remember the floor. The nurse finally calls your name. She says it wrong. Everyone does. You don't correct her. You follow her down the hallway, past curtained bays filled with murmurs and beeping machines, feeling like a ghost drifting through a place where pain goes to get paperwork. She asks the questions. What hurts? How long? What have you taken? Allergies? Pain scale? You give the answers you've rehearsed 100 times. You aim for calm. You aim for believable. She nods, types, nods again. Her face stays neutral, but you've learned how to read between the lines. She's seen this before. She's tired. You don't blame her. Everyone here is exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. They park you on a bed behind a thin curtain. The paper crinkles loudly when you sit, announcing your presence to the universe. The curtain doesn't quite close all the way, and you can see shoes passing by, hear snippets of other people's worst nights. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cries. Somewhere closer, someone throws up. The ER soundtrack is relentless. The doctor arrives. He's younger than you expected, with kind eyes and the posture of someone who hasn't slept in a week. He listens, really listens. He presses gently where it hurts, asks follow-up questions, nods like your pain makes sense in a world that usually pretends it doesn't. You feel a rush of gratitude that's almost embarrassing. "We can give you something for the pain," he says, careful with his words. Not a promise, not a refusal, just enough hope to keep you upright. A nurse comes back with a shot. You look away. You always do. The relief creeps in slowly, like a tide coming back in after a long retreat. Your muscles loosen. Your jaw unclenches. For a moment you feel almost human again. The doctor returns with discharge papers and a prescription. Short term, he emphasizes. He hands you a pamphlet about addiction, glossy and well-meaning. You nod. You thank him. You promise to follow up with your primary care doctor, as if you haven't already memorized their hold music. By the time you leave, the sky's starting to lighten. The parking lot is quiet. Dew settling on windshields, the world pretending it's a normal morning. You toss the pamphlet into the trash on your way out, not out of denial, but out of sheer exhaustion. You know the risks, you live them. You slide into your minivan, start the engine, and sit for a moment before driving. The pain is dulled, not gone, just quiet enough to breathe through. Another shuffle complete. Another night survived. Tomorrow you'll feel guilty. Tomorrow you'll worry about how this looks on a chart somewhere. But right now, as the sun rises over the hospital roof, all you care about is getting home, crawling into bed, and pretending just for a few hours that relief didn't come with strings attached. Your cousin posts a rant about junkies ruining the town. You scroll, you seethe, you think about posting a reply, but decide to take another pill instead. It's not even a good rant, just a blurry meme with too many exclamation points, slapped over a photo of a busted-up gas station. The caption reads, "This is what happens when you hand out pills like candy. Wake up, America." You stare at it from your spot on the couch, blanket wrapped around your legs, phone charging from the same outlet that powers your soul. Barely. Your cousin, of course, is one of those people, high school dropout turned keyboard philosopher. He sells bootleg vape pens out of his garage but has a lot to say about drug abuse. He posts memes about Jesus and fentanyl in the same breath, and somehow still gets 73 likes and 18 comments from people with usernames like PatriotMom420. You know some of those names. You've seen them in the pharmacy line. You scroll through the comments like you're picking at a scab. What we need is to stop enabling them. If you really wanted to quit, you would. My uncle kicked it cold turkey. Just takes willpower. One woman adds a prayer emoji, which feels vaguely threatening. You almost type a reply. Something honest. Something that starts with, "Actually, Susan," and ends with a list of statistics about chronic pain, the collapse of rural healthcare, and the fact that addiction is more complicated than a bumper sticker. But you don't. Because you're tired, and because no one ever wins an argument in the comment section. You know this because you've tried once, from a hospital bed with an IV drip in your arm and a freshly printed court date in your purse. Instead, you take a pill Not for the pain, not exactly. For the shame that crawls in after reading the last comment. For the tightness in your chest that never quite leaves. For the tiny, bitter part of you that wants to scream at all of them, I'm trying. Do you even know what trying looks like anymore? You close the app, open it again, close it again. You consider deleting your account, but it's the only place where your aunt posts updates about family reunions and your niece's dance recital. The same feed that makes you feel like a failure is the one place that still lets you feel like part of a family. So you lurk. You like photos of other people's lives, clean kitchens, happy toddlers, couples in matching pajamas. You scroll past someone's recipe for gluten-free muffins and someone else's quote about not judging until you've walked in someone's shoes, posted by a woman who definitely judged you for wearing flip-flops to court. Eventually you find a video of a kitten falling into a shoebox. You watch it 5 times. It helps, sort of. The phone buzzes, another comment on your cousin's post. You don't look. Instead, you take another sip of lukewarm coffee and turn on the TV, letting the white noise drown out the static in your head. The pill kicks in. The anger settles. Not gone, just manageable. You make a mental note to block your cousin, or maybe just unfollow, or maybe just pretend this didn't happen and keep scrolling until you forget what you were upset about in the first place. Because in a town this small, you don't clap back, you don't call people out, you keep your head down, your mouth shut, and your status updates vague. So you post something safe, a photo of your kid's macaroni art captioned, "So proud." You wait for the likes to roll in like tiny apologies and pretend for just a minute that they mean something. You try to quit again. You flush the pills, cry in the shower and call your sponsor. By noon, you're searching the house for just one more. Rock bottom feels like home. The decision arrives the way it always does, sudden, dramatic, and fueled by equal parts shame and hope. You stand in the bathroom staring at yourself in the mirror, mascara already smudged from tears you haven't cried yet. Today is the day. Today you're done. You unscrew the bottle with shaking hands and dump the pills into the toilet like you're performing a very small, very private exorcism. The flush sounds louder than it should. Final. Official. You sit on the edge of the tub afterward, heart racing, as if the pills might crawl back out and demand an explanation. You tell yourself this is what strength feels like. This nausea, this panic, this sudden awareness of every ache in your body and every regret in your chest. You turn on the shower and let the water scald. You cry in a way that surprises you, deep hiccuping sobs that echo off the tile. You cry for the pills. You cry for the version of yourself that didn't need them. You cry because quitting feels like losing the only thing that ever showed up on time, wrapped in a towel. You call your sponsor. She answers like she always does, calm and steady, voice warm with practiced reassurance. You tell her you flushed them. She tells you she's proud of you. You both pretend this isn't the 4th time you've had this exact conversation. She reminds you to take it 1 hour at a time. You agree, because 1 hour feels survivable. The morning stretches out in front of you like a bad weather forecast. Your skin crawls, your joints throb. Every sound feels too loud. The kids ask what's for lunch, and the question lands like an accusation. You snap at them, then apologize, then snap again. You pace the house, open and close cabinets, forget what you were looking for mid-motion. By 10 o'clock, your resolve is fraying. You remember all the places you didn't check, the purse you haven't used in months, the coat in the back of the closet, the tampon box behind the sink. You tell yourself you're just cleaning, just organizing. You're not looking. You're preparing for your new clean life. By noon, you're on your hands and knees digging through a drawer full of expired coupons and tangled cords, heart pounding with a hope you hate yourself for having. You find nothing. You feel relief and disappointment in equal measure. This is progress, you think. This is what progress feels like. Miserable and confusing. You sit on the floor, back against the cabinet, and breathe through the pain. Physical, emotional. Who can tell anymore? Everything hurts. Your phone buzzes with a reminder about a refill that no longer matters. You consider calling your sponsor again, but you don't want to admit you're already unraveling. The afternoon drags. You distract yourself with laundry, with TV, with anything that doesn't involve sitting still with your thoughts. The kids watch cartoons. You watch the clock. Every minute sober feels like a mile walked barefoot. By evening, you're exhausted in a way sleep won't fix. You promise yourself you'll try again tomorrow. You always do. Rock bottom isn't a place you fall into, it's a place you recognize. Familiar. Worn in. Almost comfortable. You crawl into bed, empty and aching, and stare at the ceiling. You didn't make it the whole day clean, not really, not in your head. But you made it this far, and tonight, that has to be enough. It's Thanksgiving. The turkey is dry, the family is tense, and you've taken just enough to get through dessert. You wonder if anyone else feels this numb, or if it's just you. The dining room is full of smells that used to mean something. Canned cranberry sauce, burnt stuffing, overcooked green beans, and the faint, inescapable scent of resentment. Your aunt brought that weird Jell-O salad again, the one with shredded carrots that nobody eats, but everyone praises out of tradition and fear. The kids are screaming in the next room, hopped up on pie crust and too much screen time. Your mother's on her third glass of Chardonnay and has entered the passive-aggressive compliment stage of the evening. You sit at the table like a guest in your own life, holding a fork and nodding at conversations you're not really hearing. There's a plastic smile stretched across your face. You're present, technically. But emotionally, you're drifting somewhere between the mashed potatoes and the ceiling fan, watching it all from a safe, floating distance. You've taken just enough to not care about your brother's political rants, your cousin's third engagement, or the fact that Brenda showed up uninvited and brought her own gluten-free dessert just in case. You excuse yourself to the bathroom twice, not because you need to go, but because it's the only door in the house that locks. You stare at yourself in the mirror. You don't look high, not really. You just look tired, like someone who forgot to breathe for a few years and is only now remembering how. Your pupils look fine. You splash water on your face and rehearse your normal face. Smile, blink, repeat. You flush nothing and return to the table like a brave soldier re-entering the battlefield. The prayer before the meal lasted just long enough for your leg to fall asleep. Uncle Gary gave thanks for family and faith, and something about returning to traditional values, which probably meant a dig at you, but no one had the energy to call him out. The turkey, when carved, collapsed like a metaphor. You ate it anyway, chewing slowly while someone launched into a story about their new job that pays real well, with benefits. You muttered something about freelancing and adjusted your seat to relieve the dull ache in your back. You didn't mention that your job right now is mostly holding it together between prescriptions and trying to make gas money off Facebook Marketplace. When dessert arrives, you've already floated so far into the haze that you barely taste the pie. You nod at a compliment about the rolls you brought, store-bought, but they don't need to know that, and you make a joke about how this year you didn't burn anything, except maybe a bridge or two. You laugh at your own joke. No one else does. Someone brings up addiction. It's not about you, of course not. It's about those people who ruined the town. Your hands go still. You stare at your plate. You wonder if they'd notice if you left early. You already know the answer. Of course they'd notice. It would be the highlight of next Thanksgiving. You stick around long enough to load the dishwasher, to smile through leftovers, to pack up cold sides into old Cool Whip containers. You hug everyone, say, love you, and mean it, even if you're not sure how. The pills are wearing off, but you've made it through. Back in the car, you sit in the driveway for a minute, letting the silence settle. You survived another holiday, barely, quietly, professionally, and as the engine hums and your kids fall asleep in the back seat, you whisper to yourself, maybe next year will be easier, but you don't really believe that. Not yet. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe. Sirens on the next street. You peek through the blinds, heart pounding. Was it the neighbour? The dealer? You? You vow to quit for good, right after you finish what's left. The sound doesn't fade. That slow, rising wail, the kind you feel in your chest before you hear it with your ears. You freeze in place, halfway through folding laundry, a sock clenched in your hand like it might testify against you. You kill the TV. The house goes silent. The siren gets closer, then stops. Not in front of your house, but close enough to smell the panic. You shuffle to the window, careful not to disturb the blinds too much. No need to look suspicious. Just a casual Tuesday surveillance mission. A black SUV idles 2 doors down. Men in windbreakers step out. Letters on the back, DEA. Your mouth goes dry. Your stomach flips. You count how many pills are left. You calculate how long it'll take to flush them. You wonder if you have time to text your cousin, who always seems to know a guy. You don't recognize the house they're going into. Could be that guy who sells herbal supplements from his garage. Could be your neighbor with the roosters and the 5-ring doorbell set up. You hope it's him. You hope you're invisible. But hope is thin today. Your kids are in the other room watching cartoons. You should be focused on them. You should be unloading the dishwasher. You should be 1,000 things. But right now, you're a statue behind your curtain, one breath away from breaking. You tiptoe to the bathroom, not running, just moving quickly, like someone who doesn't want to raise suspicion with their own furniture. The medicine cabinet greets you like a confessional. You open it slowly, staring at the bottle. Half full, enough to last the week if you ration. You clutch it like a lifeline, your hand trembling. You don't flush them, not yet. Instead, you hide them again, deeper this time, under the sink, inside a hollowed-out shampoo bottle. You promise yourself it's just until this blows over, just until the sirens stop. You try to sit down, act normal. You open your phone, scroll Facebook. Of course, Brenda's already posted something vague. You'll be careful out there. They're cracking down. Prayers up. 10 likes, 3 eye emojis, 1 comment that just says "about time." You switch to local news. Nothing yet. You wonder if they'll come to your house next. You've got a prescription. You're not a dealer. You've never sold a thing. But your refill history is enough to raise eyebrows, especially when half the town's gossip network is built inside the walls of the pharmacy. You grab a cigarette and head to the porch, trying to look like someone enjoying the afternoon and not someone spiraling into a full-blown anxiety fugue. Across the street, someone else is peeking out their blinds too. Everyone's pretending they don't know what's happening, while absolutely knowing exactly what's happening. The SUV pulls away eventually. No one's in cuffs, but a clipboard gets passed around and someone's door gets taped shut. You don't breathe until their taillights disappear. Then you exhale slowly, like the house itself was holding its breath with you. You tell yourself, that's it. No more, I'm done. The adrenaline feels like clarity, like resolve. You believe it until the headache creeps in sharp and familiar, until your back starts screaming, until the weight returns. You make it until nightfall. Then you open the shampoo bottle, hands steady this time. Just one, just enough to sleep. You tell yourself you'll quit tomorrow, or next week, or when the kids are older, or when the next siren stops a little farther down the road. Because rock bottom keeps moving, and every time you think you've hit it, it politely shifts to make room for one more day. The house is finally quiet. You lay in bed, stare at the ceiling, and pray for sleep. The pills blur the pain but leave the loneliness crystal clear. There's a kind of silence that doesn't soothe. It buzzes. It creeps into your ears like static, turning every creak of the floorboards and hum of the fridge into a reminder that you're awake when the rest of the world isn't. You shift under the blanket, trying to get comfortable, but the bed is too soft in some places, too hard in others. Like everything else in your life, it was second-hand and held together with duct tape and denial. The kids are asleep. One of them is snoring faintly through the baby monitor. That sound should comfort you. It used to. Now it just feels like proof that everyone else is getting the rest you can't seem to earn. You reach over and turn your phone face down. No notifications. Of course. No one texts you this late unless it's a pharmacy alert or a reminder from your bank that your balance is, once again, critically low. You stare at the ceiling fan turning slowly above you. One blade has a dead bug stuck to it. You should get up and clean it. You won't. You make a mental note anyway. Add it to the long scroll of things you'll do when you feel better. Right after organising the laundry room, figuring out dinner for tomorrow, and calling your mother back. The pill you took an hour ago has taken the edge off. Your back feels quiet. Your bones feel slightly disconnected, as if your limbs are floating just an inch above the mattress. But your mind won't shut up. The to-do list, the court dates, the grocery budget, the empty fridge, the way the pharmacist looked at you last week, the way your kid looked at you yesterday when you forgot it was picture day. You try to tell yourself this is just exhaustion, just stress, just a phase. But underneath the numbness is a familiar ache, one the pills don't touch, a slow, deep loneliness that doesn't have a name. It's not the kind that goes away with a hug or a phone call. It's the kind that lives in your chest, feeds on guilt, and thrives in the quiet hours when no one is asking for snacks or rides or answers. You roll over, then roll back. You fluff your pillow, flip it to the cold side, and tuck your arm under it like that might trick your brain into comfort. It doesn't. The house groans a little, settling. You listen for intruders even though the door's locked and the only thing interested in robbing you would be sorely disappointed. You think about getting up and folding laundry. You think about taking another pill. You don't do either. You just lie there, marinating in the strange cocktail of sedation and dread. Eventually your eyes grow heavy, not from restfulness, but from pure defeat. Your body is tired, even if your soul is still pacing. You start to drift, hovering in that grey space between sleep and thought, where dreams and regrets play a quiet game of tug-of-war. Before you go under, You whisper a promise to yourself. Tomorrow, you'll go for a walk. You'll drink more water. You'll try again. You'll be more present, more patient, more whatever it is that better looks like. And maybe you will. But for now, you close your eyes. Let the pills do their part. Let the house stay quiet. Let the numbness settle over you like a weighted blanket stitched from exhaustion, love, and the hope that tomorrow sleep won't feel like such a negotiation. The sun rises. You promise yourself again that today will be different. You'll get clean, get healthy, get happy. But first, you just need one more pill to get started. Morning light leaks through the blinds in thin, uneven stripes, illuminating dust you swear wasn't there last night. The house is quiet in that fragile way that only exists before kids wake up and life resumes demanding things from you. Birds chirp outside like they've never heard of consequences. You lie still for a moment, cataloguing your body. Back stiff, head dull, chest heavy. Nothing catastrophic, nothing good. Today feels important. You can tell by the way your thoughts line up neatly for once. Today's the day you turn it around. You'll call the doctor, you'll drink water, you'll maybe even go for a walk. You picture a version of yourself 6 months from now, clear-eyed, energetic, laughing easily. That version feels close, reachable, practically waiting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and a plan. But first, you need to move. You swing your legs out of bed and immediately regret it. Gravity hits hard. Your spine complains. Your head swims just enough to remind you that optimism doesn't cancel chemistry. You stand there, holding onto the dresser, breathing through it like you were taught in some long-forgotten wellness class. Inhale. Exhale. This is manageable. You've handled worse. The pill bottle waits where you left it. It always does. You tell yourself this one is just to take the edge off, just to level the playing field. You can't fix your life if you can't stand upright long enough to make breakfast. That's not addiction. That's logistics. You swallow it with yesterday's water and make a mental note to refill your glass later. The house creaks awake around you. A floorboard pops. The fridge hums louder than necessary. The kids will be up soon, asking for cereal and socks and answers you don't have yet. You need to be functional before that happens. You need to be here. The pill settles in slowly, like fog lifting just enough to see the road. Your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches. You feel almost capable. This is the version of you that believes in tomorrow, the one that makes lists, the one that means it. You start the day with intention. You open the curtains, you wipe down the counter, you even consider throwing out the expired yogurt. Progress. The kids wake up, loud and hungry and alive. You greet them with a smile that doesn't feel forced. That's something. You make breakfast. You pack lunches. You remember picture day without being reminded. See? Today is different. By mid-morning, the promise starts to fade at the edges. The pill wears thin. The to-do list grows teeth. The phone buzzes with reminders, appointments, bills, responsibilities stacked like dominoes. You tell yourself not to spiral. One step at a time. One good choice leads to another. That's how change works, right? You think about tomorrow again. Tomorrow you'll take less. Tomorrow you'll skip it altogether. Tomorrow you'll wake up and not need this crutch. Tomorrow is strong. Tomorrow is disciplined. Tomorrow doesn't have this ache behind its eyes. But tomorrow isn't here yet. So you keep moving. You do what needs doing. You survive the day the way you always do. Carefully, quietly, one compromise at a time. You don't fail today. You also don't quite succeed. You land somewhere in the middle where most days live. As evening approaches, you think about the promise you made this morning. You don't feel bad about it. You don't feel proud either. You just feel tired. Tomorrow is still out there waiting patiently, and you tell yourself, honestly, gently, that tomorrow will come, just not today. Sometimes you need a second opinion, or a third, or a fourth. Today you're making the rounds, driving to every family practice within a 40-mile radius. You perfect your first-time patient smile, shuffle your insurance cards, and hope nobody's got a shared database. By noon, you've seen more waiting rooms than a traveling pharmaceutical rep. The morning starts early because hope works best before lunch. You brush your hair just enough to look responsible, put on a shirt without stains, and practice your story while the coffee brews. Not a lie exactly, just a selective autobiography. Chronic pain, long history, new to the area, between doctors, insurance changed. You've said all these things before, but today you say them with optimism, like maybe this time the universe will nod back. The first clinic smells like lemon disinfectant and quiet disappointment. You check in at the desk, slide over your insurance card, and answer the same questions you've memorized by heart. Any medications? You hesitate just long enough to seem thoughtful, not evasive. Nothing serious, you say, which is technically true depending on your definition of serious. You sit, you wait, you scroll your phone, you study the posters on the wall, smiling families, cheerful warnings about cholesterol, a pamphlet titled Living Well with Pain that suggests stretching and positive thinking. You consider stealing it just to see how absurd it gets after page 3. The doctor is polite but rushed. He listens, nods, asks about pain levels, presses on places that already hurt. You give him your best cooperative patient energy. You're agreeable. You're reasonable. You're not desperate. He suggests physical therapy and anti-inflammatories. You thank him. You leave with nothing but a printout and the sinking feeling that this stop didn't count. Back in the car, you update the mental scoreboard. 1 down, 3 to go. The second office has a longer wait and worse chairs. The receptionist recognizes your name from somewhere, or maybe you're imagining it. You smile anyway. You always smile. You tell yourself it's just friendliness, not fear. The doctor here is older, slower, more willing to talk. This feels promising. You explain again. You don't oversell. You let a little vulnerability slip, just enough to feel human. He sighs. He's seen this story before. He warns you gently, talks about dependency, mentions guidelines. He offers a short-term solution and a long-term plan that involves appointments you can't afford and time you don't have. You nod. You agree. You leave with another pamphlet and a growing headache. By the third clinic, the day has lost its shine. The waiting room TV is playing a daytime court show. Someone is arguing about a borrowed lawnmower. You feel a strange kinship with them. The nurse asks if you've seen any other doctors recently. You answer honestly adjacent. Not in a while. She types something. You wonder what that something means. This doctor barely looks up from the chart. He asks quick questions, gives quicker answers. No prescriptions, no exceptions. He suggests ice packs and rest, like you haven't been resting your entire life between obligations. You thank him. You leave. By noon, your optimism is threadbare. You sit in the parking lot of the last clinic, engine idling, staring at the building like it might blink first. You consider going home. You consider pushing through. You consider the pills you already have and the math you'll have to do tonight. You go in anyway. This waiting room is quiet. The receptionist smiles like she means it. You take a seat and breathe. Maybe this one, maybe today ends differently. You're tired of the circuit, tired of the explanations, tired of needing permission to function. When it's over, however it ends, you walk back to your car feeling lighter or heavier, depending. Doctor shopping isn't really about shopping. It's about searching for relief, for validation, for someone to say, "Yes, I believe you." You start the engine and pull onto the road, another lap completed. Tomorrow the pain will still be there, but today at least you tried. And in this life, trying is sometimes the only thing that feels like progress. Tonight is the Parent-Teacher Association meeting, a gladiatorial arena where everyone pretends their life is together. You pop a pain pill in the parking lot, practice your concerned mum face, and try not to zone out when Brenda brings up the bake sale. Again. All you want is to blend in, keep your secrets safe, and survive without volunteering for anything that requires standing for more than 5 minutes. The school cafeteria smells like floor cleaner, pencil shavings, and quiet judgment. You walk in clutching a styrofoam cup of coffee that's been sitting on a warmer since the Clinton administration. Folding chairs scrape against the linoleum as parents settle in, each one dressed in some version of "I'm doing fine." Yoga pants disguised as responsibility. Polos that say "I coach" even when they don't. You choose a seat near the back. Strategic. Close enough to hear, far enough to escape. You sit carefully, easing yourself down like the chair might personally betray you. The pill hums gently in your system. Not a buzz, just a smoothing. Enough to dull the ache in your back and soften the sharp edges of your anxiety. The meeting starts with announcements, fundraisers, field trips, test scores. Acronyms fly around like confetti. PTO, IEP, STE. You nod when others nod, clap when others clap. Even though you're not entirely sure what you're agreeing to, you make eye contact with exactly no one. Eye contact leads to conversations. Conversations lead to expectations. Brenda clears her throat. You feel it before she even speaks. That shift in the room, the subtle tightening of shoulders. Brenda launches into her favourite topic, the bake sale. How it needs more volunteers. How last year's turnout was a little disappointing. How homemade items are preferred, but store-bought is acceptable in a pinch. You stare at the agenda, pretending to read it like scripture. You imagine the possible futures branching out in front of you, one where you raise your hand and commit to 3 dozen cupcakes, standing in your kitchen for hours while your back screams and your kids lick the frosting off the beaters. Another where you volunteer for setup, which means early mornings and folding tables that weigh more than your self-worth. You sink lower in your chair, praying invisibility is still a valid survival strategy. A teacher talks about classroom needs. Someone mentions Kleenex donations. You make a mental note to buy the cheapest box possible and hope it counts. Your leg starts bouncing. You force it still. The pill is wearing off just enough to remind you it exists. A dad across the aisle raises his hand and asks a long, aggressive question about math curriculum. You tune out halfway through and drift into a fantasy where PTA meetings are held via email and no one ever asks you to say a few words. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Time stretches. Then it happens. The room goes quiet. The PTA president smiles and scans the crowd. We're still looking for someone to help coordinate, you cough. Loud, convincing, a warning cough, the kind that says medical exemption. You dab your mouth with a napkin and avoid eye contact like it's radioactive. Someone else volunteers. Relief washes over you so fast you almost laugh. The meeting wraps up with reminders and thank yous. Chairs scrape again. People cluster into friendly knots, chatting about weekend plans and enrichment programs. You wait. Let the room thin. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to perform any more than you already have. Outside, the night air feels cooler, kinder. You sit in your car for a moment before starting the engine, letting the quiet settle. You survived. No commitments, no questions, no exposure. Tomorrow you'll send in a box of generic cookies and call it community involvement. Tonight you drove home intact. And in the long marathon of pretending everything's fine, sometimes that's the only victory that matters. Your purse is a black hole where wallets, snack wrappers, and the all-important prescription bottle go missing at the worst possible moment. You tear the house apart, interrogate the kids, and finally find it, inside the freezer, next to a bag of tater tots and last year's peas. You swear you're not losing your mind, but the evidence is starting to pile up. It starts with that flicker of unease, like the quiet before a tornado. You reach into your purse for your pills and come up empty. No familiar rattle, no orange bottle, just gum wrappers, crushed goldfish, and a receipt for a gas station coffee you don't remember buying. You dump the purse out onto the kitchen table with a dramatic sigh, as if the performance alone will make the bottle materialize. Nothing. You stare at the chaos, crumpled tissues, coupons, a lollipop that's melted into a hair tie, and try to think logically. You just had the pills this morning, you're sure of it, weren't you? You took one around 9 or maybe 10. You remember holding the bottle, or was that yesterday? The days has been blending again. Too many, too fast, too blurry. You retrace your steps. Bathroom? No. Nightstand? Just 3 empty bottles you're saving in case. The diaper bag? Nope. You check the junk drawer, which has evolved into more of a shame drawer, full of rubber bands, old charger cables and tax documents from 2016. Still no pills. Panic sets in. You call out to the kids in your nicest possible please don't make me yell voice. Has anyone seen Mommy's medicine? They answer like suspects in a crime documentary. Shifty-eyed, overly innocent, suddenly interested in helping. The toddler offers a plastic banana from the play kitchen. The older one just shrugs and asks for another snack. You start opening cabinets like you're on a game show. Under the sink, in the cereal box, behind the dish soap. You're checking inside mugs, shaking flour containers, and for some reason, you open the microwave. Nothing but crumbs and shame. You pull the couch cushions off. Vacuumed last month. Doubtful. A Barbie leg, 2 pennies, and a broken crayon. Still no pills. You kneel down to check under the fridge and somehow end up face to face with a dust bunny the size of a Pomeranian. You back away. Some things are best left unfound. Then a thought. The freezer. You don't know why. Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it's because deep down you suspect your subconscious is playing tricks on you. You open the freezer door and there it is. Right between the bag of frostbitten tater tots and a half-empty tub of sherbet from someone's birthday last year. The bottle. A little frosty, but intact. You don't even question it anymore. You just accept it, like someone who finds their car keys in the mailbox and says, "Well, at least I have a car." You take the bottle out and hold it like a long-lost friend. You even say thank you, out loud, to the freezer. Because at this point, why not? You take your dose finally. The panic softens, the headache, the ache in your ribs, the background hum of anxiety, all of it dulls just a little. But the question lingers. How did it get in the freezer? You wonder if you did it during a multitasking blackout, some moment of chaotic efficiency where you were making dinner, loading the dishwasher, and hiding your survival tools from prying eyes all at once. You laugh, sort of. Then close the freezer door and tell yourself it won't happen again. It will. Tomorrow it'll be the car or the laundry basket or your kid's backpack. Because when your life runs on pill bottles and paper-thin margins, every day is a scavenger hunt with no prize. Just the hope that you're still one step ahead of losing everything. And tonight, just barely, you are. Desperation hits hard, and you agree to drive 3 towns over to meet a friend of a friend who knows a guy. The minivan's low on gas, the directions are sketchy, and the whole thing feels like a scene from an after-school special. Every mile is a battle between hope and regret, with only the promise of relief to keep you moving. You're not proud of it, but pride stopped being part of the conversation about 6 months ago. This isn't a joyride, it's a mission. A quiet, grim little odyssey through back roads and fast food wrappers. You tell yourself this is the last time. You tell yourself that every time. You pack a travel mug of coffee, double-check that the kids are with your sister, and grab your emergency cash stash, the one hidden behind the peanut butter jar. 28 crumpled dollars and some loose change. It'll have to be enough. The minivan protests before you've even left the driveway. The gaslight's been on so long it's just part of the dashboard aesthetic now. You do the mental math. How far is too far? What's the going rate for a favour from a guy whose name you were told not to ask for? You hit the road anyway. Your phone signal cuts in and out as you drive. Directions screenshot just in case. It's the kind of rural route where the street signs are missing and the GPS gets confused. You pass 2 churches, 1 bait shop, and a mailbox that looks like it's been hit by every truck in town. Your stomach flips each time a police cruiser passes. You're not carrying anything yet, but the guilt is already burning a hole in your purse. You check the clock. You were supposed to meet Caleb, not his real name, at a gas station with 1 working pump and a sign that just says ice, C-I-G-S, worms. You park by the ice machine and wait. Every second feels like a lifetime. You text your friend of a friend who replies with a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. Reassuring. Finally a truck pulls up. Faded paint, tinted windows. A guy in cargo shorts gets out and lights a cigarette without making eye contact. You approach like it's a drug deal in a made-for-TV movie because, well, it kind of is. He doesn't speak much, just nods and hands you a paper bag that smells faintly of mint gum and whatever's left of your dignity. Cash is exchanged. Nobody smiles. You walk back to your van, heart hammering, bag clenched like it's holding the cure for everything wrong in your life. You sit behind the wheel and breathe, watching him drive off like a shadow. You should go straight home. Instead, you pull into a Walmart parking lot a few blocks away, park under a half-dead light post and open the bag. There it is, familiar, comforting. Your hand shakes as you open the bottle. You stare at the pill for a long time before taking it. Not with water, just dry, like guilt. The effect isn't dramatic, you don't get high. You just stop wanting to scream. You rest your head against the steering wheel and whisper that you're sorry. To yourself, to the kids, to the version of you that used to believe in clean slates and good decisions. You promise again that this is it. The final time, the last detour. And maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. You drive home slow, headlights catching on every roadside cross and every porch light flickering against the night. Your shoulders relax. Your mind goes quiet. Not peaceful, just numb. 3 towns away, a man you'll never see again lights another cigarette and forgets your name before the wind hits the ashtray. And you? You make it back before midnight, pills stashed in the same drawer as the birthday candles and unpaid bills. Tomorrow you'll wake up and try again. But tonight, you're just grateful you made it home. You get a call from a blocked number and immediately your stomach drops. It's CPS again. You scramble to hide anything incriminating, rehearse your answers, and bribe the kids with extra screen time to keep quiet. You wonder how many times a person can live on the edge before they finally fall. You don't answer on the first ring. You never do. Blocked calls mean one of 3 things: debt collector, telemarketer, or a visit from the state. You stare at the screen, phone vibrating like a ticking bomb, and finally swipe to answer just before it stops. Hello, is this Miss Thompson? Your mouth says yes before your brain catches up. It's a soft voice on the other end, almost friendly, but you know better. Friendly voices ask trick questions. Friendly voices smile while writing reports. Friendly voices get to decide whether your house is safe enough for your kids to live in. You say all the right things. Yes, of course. We've been doing fine. Yes, they've been going to school regularly. You try to sound alert but not defensive. Calm, but not too calm. You're one slip away from sounding suspicious no matter what you say. She tells you they'd like to drop by this week. Just a routine follow-up. You say, that's fine, but your voice cracks on the word fine. As soon as you hang up, the real work begins. You grab a trash bag and start sweeping through the house like a clean-up crew after a crime scene. Bottles get shoved into tampon boxes, half-smoked cigarettes flushed, and laundry that's been nesting on the couch gets dumped into the closet like a reverse magic trick. You spray cleaner on everything, even things that don't need it, just so the air smells like trying. The kids are watching cartoons with the volume way too high. You turn it down and crouch in front of them like a sitcom mum about to explain that the family hamster didn't go to a farm. You smile big, the kind that shows too many teeth, and say, "Hey, can we make sure to keep things extra neat today? And remember how we always talk nicely to guests." They nod, mostly confused. You promise ice cream for dinner and a bonus hour of tablet time if they don't mention anything about Mommy's special back medicine or the time you cried in the bathtub for 45 minutes. The house looks passable, not perfect, but not condemnable. You light a candle in the bathroom and hide the lighter. You put a motivational quote on the fridge. You find clean socks for everyone, even the dog. You stare at yourself in the bathroom mirror and practice neutral expressions. Smiling, suspicious, frowning, guilty, slightly tired but composed, acceptable. Then you wait. Waiting is the worst part. You pace. You check the window every 5 minutes like a paranoid neighbor. You Google things like, how clean does a house have to be for CPS? And can I fail a visit for expired milk? Your stomach is a knot of guilt and caffeine. You can't remember if you took your pill today or just thought really hard about it. When the knock finally comes, it's like a jump scare in a horror movie. You fix your hair in the hallway mirror, inhale once, and open the door. She's polite, professional, clipboard in hand, sensible shoes. She walks through your home like it's a test you forgot to study for. She asks questions that sound simple, but aren't. Do they eat 3 meals a day? Where do they sleep? Do you have any concerns about your ability to parent right now? You smile, you nod, you say the lines you've memorized. After she leaves, you collapse on the couch like you've just defused a bomb with your bare hands. The candle's still burning. The kids are laughing at cartoons again. You survived. This time. But that feeling lingers, low in your stomach. The sense that you're one drawer, one bottle, one answer away from losing everything. And the worst part is, you're starting to get used to it. So tonight, as you settle into your clean bed, maybe with a heating pad that actually works, maybe not, you can let out a long, grateful sigh for the miracle of modern life. No need to count out pills on a chipped Formica counter. No neighbours peering through the blinds. No prescription bottles hidden in cereal boxes or panic at the knock of a social worker at the door. Because if you survived the day as an OxyContin-addicted mother in 2000s rural America, you've outlasted a gauntlet tougher than most reality shows. You braved the morning chaos, the pharmacy side eyes, and the relentless whir of a minivan's failing engine. You endured the stares, the shame, the bone-deep exhaustion, and the silent calculation of how many pills until morning. You learned to juggle pain and paperwork, gossip and guilt, hope and disappointment, all while making sure the kids got to school most days, and the bills were only a little overdue. And yet somehow you kept going. You made it through the school run, the supermarket, the doctor's appointment, the family drama, and the sleepless nights. Sometimes you fell down, but you always got back up, dusted off the Cheez-Its, and faced another day. That's the absurd, stubborn hope of the human spirit. We find ways to survive, even in places and times that make no sense at all. So as you drift off tonight, maybe whisper a quiet thank you to all the women and men who fought private battles behind closed doors, who've weathered the storms of addiction, poverty, and stigma, and who, somehow, managed to laugh through the pain. Because history, even when it's recent and a little messy, is a testament to how ridiculous, resilient, and utterly unstoppable people can be. Sleep well, be kind to yourself, and remember, tomorrow is a brand new day, with or without the pain.